So forest certification programs focus on a variety of different scales. They focus on the management of the forest, so something that occurs on the property in terms of any harvesting activity or other potentially impactful operations. But they also consider the relationship of those particular management activities to other social and community benefits, and even larger in terms of, say, regional or global impacts to the sustainability of the environment, and also the forest products industries that use some of the materials that are derived from sustainably managed lands.
Most forest management standards and certification standards embody sustainability. And each organization that develops certification will have their own set of standards that have elements of sustainability on them. The core of that is very, very similar between standards and between organizations. You're going to protect special sites, maybe special sites that have endangered species in them, or species of concern. Remember, historical sites or archaeological sites. So these special sites are going to be protected in any sustainable management and certification program. You've got protection of water quality, of course. You've got protection of the overall ecosystem. So are you leaving coarse woody debris? Logs on the forest floor, for example, that provide habitat for non-game and game species both. So there are a number of elements involved in sustainability. A lot of it has to do with ensuring that the forest continues to function properly, not only for timber production, but for other elements such as wildlife, habitat for special species, and all these things would be part of sustainability.
Sustainability is very important for the forest. We're talking long-term to grow a tree, at least 50 years in the hardwoods. And we want to have these hardwoods to come back to again and again, in Columbia's case, to make hardwood veneer plywood, or to make lumber, or to generate pulp for paper. As long as we have a forest, we can continue to make these things. But sustainability is keeping the forest a forest, and so that we can manage it for timber, we can hunt wildlife, or maybe just go out and look at wildlife, so we can have water, so we can have good water quality, and we can have a place that we can come to picnic with the kids or for the grandkids. But if we don't have a forest, then we don't have any of these things. So sustainability means keeping a forest a forest.
There are best management practices in agriculture. We have best management practices for forestry, and we go by the acronym BMPs. But we have best management practices for logging. In fact, in the state of Virginia, there are laws regarding the logging practices, and we have people who work with us who we're required to check every logging job in the state of Virginia, and they have to follow those best management practices. For instance, if they are harvesting near a stream, they have to leave a buffer. They can not take their equipment close to the stream. They have to maintain that buffer strip. If they're disturbing soil close to or having to cross the stream, there are criteria that they have to follow as far as bridges or culverts, seeding and water bars to establish or stabilize any erosion or bare soil close to the area. So best management practices are various things that you would conduct to minimize the impact on water, soil, wildlife, other things while you're conducting a forestry practice, whether it's actual harvest. It might be like behind us here where they have a wildlife area for hunting, sowing grass seed, maintaining erosion, maybe establishing silt fences along waterways, how you would lay out your roads, not too steep, not too close to water courses, again, in that case, to minimize erosion, sedimentation. So that would be best management practices.
Forests and forest certification, as it relates to sustainability, has increased significantly in the consciousness, particularly among companies. Companies around the world are recognizing not just the impact that they have on natural resources and the environment, but they're also recognizing that ultimately it's probably not going to be regulations that are going to change the world. Regulations often or following business practices rather than the other way around, especially in the United States where we have some real global leadership in this area. So I think many of these companies are recognizing just how important forests are to the health of the planet, and the fact that their forests are the source of most of our clean air and clean water. Forests also help control climate. They also are home to, I think it's 80% or so of the world's terrestrial species. So there are many, many values there. Not to mention that we have over 1 billion of the Earth's inhabitants depend on forests for their livelihoods and well-being, and the fact that we have forest products that we need and use every day. We need to be able to sustain that resource for those products. So I think we're coming to this collective realization of the import of forests, and that we also need to do something about it. And of course, our global population is not decreasing. We also have many countries who are either approaching or would like to approach the level of consumption of forest products that places like the United States enjoy, and there's probably not enough of them, not enough forests to supply that growing population. So we need to use this resource more wisely. We think it's entirely viable and possible that we can have all of these values combined, but we have to do things a little differently in order to do that.
If we are going to be a company who is using resources that are forest-based, then we have to tell a story. We have to be able to tell a story that says we're doing so responsibly. And I think certification is one way to say that not only are we aware of the impact we have as a forest products user, but we have a responsibility as an organization to make sure that we do it as well as it can be done. And we strongly believe that certification by one of the internationally recognized protocols is that way is the route for doing that. And it's my hope that if we practice that kind of use of the forest that we benefit from, that it'll tell the story that we engaged at the level at which we understand the impact we're having globally as an organization and as consumers, and that we can make commitments to make sure that we keep that balance and we hopefully gain more forests back in the process.